The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on our webinar today. My name is Ian Campbell. I am the Director of Marketing for CollectiveSun, and we like to oh, and I just found out that my screen sharing is paused here, so I'm going to make sure that that we're online. Excuse me, we're just having some technical difficulties here. Let's do this. Okay. So okay, there we go. So now we should be able to see my screen pretty accurately here. I apologize for that. But we here at CollectiveSun, we like to provide resources for nonprofits and nonprofit fundraisers, executive directors, development directors, etc., to help and try to kind of help to build their membership, help to engage the membership, and help to advance the cause of the nonprofit. We're big supporters of nonprofits, and we like to we're here to help. So with that said, we're really excited to bring Renee Herrell on board. Just a couple of housekeeping items beforehand. This webinar is being recorded, and we will have the slide deck available for download after the webinar, and we'll send the link out to the recorded webinar via YouTube as well. So you can take a look at that. Now, as far as questions are concerned, Renee has said that she'd like to take questions as they come. So as they do, there are a couple different ways that you can ask questions. You can ask them via a message on the GoToWebinar dashboard that's on the right side of your screen. You'll see a little area to ask those questions, and so feel free to ask them as they come up. I will be moderating, and I'll make sure to make sure that we get those questions answered as they do arise. Or you can raise your hand, and again, that's utilizing that dashboard, that GoToWebinar dashboard. A little bit about CollectiveSun. We are an impact investing platform that helps nonprofits go solar. Nonprofits have a specific disadvantage with the solar energy, in that they can't take advantage of the tax benefits that for-profit. Well, we've helped to figure out a way to get around that, and to help nonprofits reduce operating expenses, go solar and help the environment, but most importantly, engage their membership through that solar energy by going out to their community and raising investments to those solar panels on their roofs, and get those cost savings there. But again, we're not here to talk about CollectiveSun today. We're always available to do so, of course, but we're here to listen to Renee Herrell present. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Renee and let her take it away. And I will, like I said, as questions come up, as our hands are raised, I'll make sure to get in there as well. So Renee, go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much, Ian, and thank you for hosting the webinar today and allowing me to share with everyone some top 10 fundraising tips. And the reason I wanted to give simple fundraising tips today was because I know in my work as a consultant, I work solely with charities, mostly on fundraising projects, a lot of times with board development and strategic planning, but most of the time I'm coming in and there's a need for more fundraising, or smarter fundraising, or more strategic fundraising, because let's face it, we only have so much time during the day, and nonprofits are famously understaffed and rely a lot on wonderful volunteers, but still we need to maximize the time that we have and the resources we have when we're fundraising. So I'm going to try to do the hand raise thing to see if we can make that work. Who here on the line is in a one-person development shop or a volunteer-only development shop where you're a nonprofit and there's just one of you fundraising or dedicated to that, or maybe just volunteers dedicated to fundraising. Do we have any of those on the line? Okay, Tracy, nice, from Gower School. Good to see you. Oh, and maybe that's just it, or maybe everyone's trying to figure out how to raise their hand. It's quite common that I see in nonprofits for these one-person development shops. So let's get into what our tips are for today. And let's see, Ian, you'll go to the next slide. There we go, now I can. Thank you. Okay, so tip number 10 is fundraise smarter, not harder. As we know, the Giving USA report was released just a couple of weeks ago, and the good news about where our giving is today is that the total contributions, as you can see, is $335 billion, which is a $19 billion increase from 2012. It's a good sign of the recovery of our economy. In 2007, Giving USA reported that $344 billion was raised. So if we're looking at what was raised in 2013 at $335, we're getting closer and back to those numbers in 2007, which is good news for nonprofits because we've definitely been struggling with fundraising as the economy dipped because there's less money out there to be charitable with. So what I really wanted to point out with this slide is that we look at how the donations are broken up, who they're coming from. And no surprise here that almost 3/4 of the donations are coming from individuals. And that's a $241 billion coming from individuals. The reason I want to point this out is because we want to fundraise smarter, not harder. Often when I go in to meet with a client, they say, tell me about corporate fundraising, Renee. Like, I really think we need to get more corporations involved. And while I agree that it is great to have corporate support, and they do like the marketing, and nonprofits can offer lots of benefits for exposure for corporations and to attach themselves to a charity, as you can see here, they're only giving 5% of the total pot for giving that's out there. So let's go to the next. Oh, I can do this. There we go. Okay, so here we go. So what I would recommend to you is based on how, where the contributions are coming from, is how I would recommend you divide your time as a fundraiser, especially if you're a single shingle fundraiser. Spend 3/4 of your time courting your individual donors, and then accordingly 15% writing grants, 8% meeting with your older donors to talk about their estate planning. That's your plan giving, your bequest that we saw come in, and then 5% developing your corporate sponsorships and pitching to companies. Now I know you're going to say, you're like, but Renee, it's so much easier to go research a grant online because they have exact giving guidelines. I know when the deadline is, so I work towards that deadline. I know what the requirements are that I have to write out, and often I don't have to talk to a single person, i.e. Any of the grant on the foundation side, and so you can be writing your grant at 2 o'clock in the morning and be fundraising that way. And I understand that that's easy and really appealing. And courting your individuals is really getting outside of your comfort zone and reaching out to folks and really getting to know them. But if we look at the data and we look at where all of our donations are coming from, 3/4 are coming from individuals. So I really encourage you to spend your time taking your donors out to coffee, meeting them in their homes, or engaging them with a tour or events or special activities that you have going on with your organization. Okay, so that's number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Okay, so this is all about getting your happy hour on. It's a little early for happy hour, but I'm sure it's Wednesday, it's hump day, so we're starting to think about when 5 o'clock rolls around that maybe we need maybe a cocktail or two to get us through the rest of the week. One of the things I've seen my clients be really successful with is doing happy hours. They are easy to execute. They don't require a lot of planning or staff time. They are fun. They raise a little bit of money for the organization, and they start to engage new people with your organization and with your programs that you may not have had access to before. My client did one downtown at a cool new bar, and the advantage here in the logistics that kind of work around this is they work with the bar or the restaurant or whatever it is to have them donate one drink and appetizers per person. And what I encourage you to do is to charge a ticket price, and normally it's about $20. Let me skip to the next slide because I think, there we go. This is where it goes. So what we do is we make an arrangement, a partnership with a restaurant or bar. We ask them to donate the appetizer and a drink for each person. Then I encourage you to charge a ticket price like $20. It's an even round number. People can often do it in cash. If you want to encourage people to get maybe like your board members to get a group from work to come on over to the happy hour, to offer something like 6 tickets for $100, which is basically you get one for free. But the idea is that you gather a group of folks, and you want to hope for, somewhere between 20 and 40 folks, after work, probably around 5:30 or 6 for a couple hours. They come, they have a drink, they have some food, they mingle, and then you do a short presentation. And this is an opportunity to expose the attendees that are there to what your mission is, what your services are, who you are, and what you do. I often encourage my clients to bring in a program recipient. So depending, if you work with kids, often, a bar or restaurant maybe isn't the friendliest place to bring them in to talk, but maybe their parent would want to come in and talk about how much their child has improved from your services. And what this is not a lengthy, long lecture or I recommend you probably don't need a PowerPoint. A video would be really hard to screen unless you're in a back room and you can make it quiet. The idea is to do a quick 20-minute presentation, have your CEO or executive director welcome everyone, give a quick overview of the programs, how many people you serve every year, what geographical areas you're doing, maybe what your annual budget is, thank the board members that are in attendance, and then allow the program recipient to really share about how the organization's made it in their life. And this is great because all of us, let's face it, after work, a drink sounds really nice, or gathering and being social is really wonderful, and we all want to do good in general. It's just kind of built into us. We have this natural affinity for us. So if we can combine those two things for folks, I think they get a real kick out of it. And this is probably the bonus. Yes, you're going to raise some money, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. But really what you're going to do is you're going to have exposed an audience of maybe 20 new people, maybe more, to your organization. So they walk away and they're like, gosh, I know what organization ABC does now. And the next day when they're at work, your coworker said, hey, what'd you do last night? Hey, I went to a happy hour, grabbed a drink, and I learned about this really great organization that's helping people here in San Diego in a specific way. The other thing as the organization is really get to know the people at the happy hour, because if they're swinging by after work, you're talking about some business professionals. There's a chance they might be real interested in getting involved in one of your committees or maybe even on your board. They may even have a home they'd like to host something like this, or they may have a group of friends that they're involved with who love to get involved with charities. So this is really an opportunity for you to raise a little bit of money, but really to fundraise, to find new people to plug into your organization. And one other tip, because I do know that we've got a couple folks on the line who are part of membership organizations. So something fun to do with the happy hour is you can offer a price depending on what your membership level is that, say your membership is $50. So entrance to the happy hour can be $50, and it gets you, of course, your one drink, an appetizer, and an opportunity drawing ticket. But it also gets a membership to your organization. So again, you've already, it gives you a chance to hook people in right away. So now they have this membership to your organization. So this event is most likely off-site. You can host it at your site. It really doesn't matter. But if it's off-site and they now have a membership to come visit your organization, you're going to get one more touch on them, because they're going to come to the museum or the zoo or whatever it is that you're at that has membership and visit you. And it's just starting to build this group of supporters. And one comment, I encourage you to do opportunity drawing. We can't call them raffles anymore unless we register with the state of California, but with the opportunity drawing, it's one more opportunity to raise money. So you'll raise money from your ticket sales, you'll raise money from straight up donations, and then you'll also raise money from doing an opportunity drawing. And what you want to do is maybe just have 3 or 5 items. It really doesn't have to be a lot. Wherever you're hosting the happy hour, most likely that restaurant or bar will give you, I don't know, maybe a $50 gift certificate for there, and maybe gather a couple other things, and it just raise a little bit more money. Okay, moving on to number 8. Okay, make donating easy as 1, 2, 3. So fundraising had an easy button. It would be this program wish list. As fundraisers, we realize when we meet people, and this would be a perfect thing to have at your happy hour fundraiser. In fact, the photo here the photo in the background is a picture of one of my clients' happy hour fundraisers that they hosted maybe about a month ago that went really well. So as fundraisers, we hope everyone's philanthropic, but we've got to be honest, not everyone donates because it makes them feel good. There's a lot of folks out there that are a little bit more transactional and a little less philanthropic. So this program wish list is for exactly for those folks. So my client here created a foam board. As you can see, it's simple. Just paste it on there, and you can get as creative as you want with that foam board. And as you can see, it offers different opportunities for your donors to make a gift to your organization. And you can see here that there's an iPad for $400. And you may be thinking, well, what organization needs an iPad? That sounds like a luxury to me. I don't even have an iPad. Well, with this group, Employment and Community Options, they work with individuals who have intellectual disabilities. Some of these folks are nonverbal, so an iPad is the only way that they can communicate with others, which is pretty cool. So sometimes you know, as you're letting your folks know about what's on your program wish list, is giving them an explanation of each of these items. So you make it super easy. You let folks know, here are the opportunities. You want to do a range. As you can see, there's $400 for the iPad, and then on the other side, there's an iTunes gift card for $25. And that's to buy different training applications that they can load onto the iPad, or different programs that allow our nonverbal clients to be able to communicate with others. So there's a range there, and you let folks know, gosh, they can pick any post-it they want. They simply take it off the board, and then they take it up to your registration table, and they can either write a check or run their credit card and make a donation immediately to that program in support of very specific item there. So I have to say, we had great success at a different event with this foam board. We had one of our guests at the event, simply a volunteer, someone actually who I had never met before. He came with a friend of a friend who's really engaged with our organization, and he took it upon himself to pick up that foam board, and he walked it around the room because his goal was to get every single one of those Post-its purchased by people at the event. And you know what? It worked. He sold out all of those Post-its, which you can see there's, I believe, there's 5 by 5, so there's 25 people to donate. And you know what was really cool is he got staff members to donate and also board members, because he was a guest himself, and he had already purchased one of the Post-its, and then he was asking others to join him. And how could you say no to that, even if you're a staff member? You know, the ask is a little different if you have a staff member walking around, because it's kind of your job to be able to fundraise. But when you have someone who's just an attendee like everyone else going around and asking for donations, it can really work. Okay, so here you go. Here are the basics for creating your own program wish list. Again, offering a range of donation amounts from $25 to $1,000. You want to attach the amounts to the items needed. And then, like I said, find a volunteer who will walk the wish list around and get people to purchase it. And be prepared to take credit cards. These days, it's really easy to do online and to bring an iPad with you or bring a laptop with you to be able to get that done. Okay. Oh, and you know, just one more tip on this for the program wish list is, in order to create it, sit down with your program managers, because they know what your program needs. As a fundraiser, you might not be totally clued in. I know I'm not always sure of the exact program needs, but sit down with your program managers and ask them, hey, what could your program really need that's not currently covered in the budget? You know, we have our budgeted amount, and then there's always a wish list that these program managers have that would help them do their job better or help their clients have even a better experience. So sit down with them and find out what it is that they need there. Okay, let's see what number 7 holds for us. Okay, double down, matching gifts. So I was reflecting on matching gifts. So this is when, a dollar for dollar match, and we see them all the time. And I got to be honest, I was thinking about this a couple days ago, and I thought for sure at some point this matching gift strategy would go out of style. Remember we used to have the ducky races, the little rubber ducky races, and that came into style and went out of style. And then there was selling the puppy dog or auctioning off the puppy dog in a live auction at galas. Oh my gosh, I remember these puppy dogs that went for thousands of dollars, and there's always someone walking them around with a big red bow and adorable puppy. These fads come in and out, but I've got to say matching gifts just really work for nonprofits. And here I'm going to use the example of doing it in a letter. What you got up on the screen is a client of mine. I wrote their direct mail piece. It was for a mid-year appeal for the Chula Vista Nature Center. And this was in 2009. So our economy wasn't doing real hot at that time. But the Nature Center had just lost all of their city funding. So they really needed to boost their fundraising. So what we did is we went to one of our current donors to ask if she would make her annual contribution if we could challenge dollar for dollar match on the letter. And you know what? She did us one better. She said, I will give you $5,000, and then I'm going to find someone else to give $5,000. So you can offer up $10,000 as your match. And as you can see here in the letter, we put that out there. Will you consider making a donation to support and continue educating our youth about conservation and environmental stewardship? Each dollar you contribute will be generously matched by a local donor, essentially doubling your donation. And you know what? They raised $30,000 with this match that they did, where they normally raise probably about $6,000 on their anytime they did an annual appeal. And I tell you, that match gift just really encourages folks to do that. Recently, at another client, we did a match gift, and for their holiday appeal at the end of the year, we offered $5,000 as a match gift. They normally raise, I want to say, $4,000. So already just getting that $5,000 confirmed from one donor, we had already exceeded our goal from the year before. They ended up raising $18,000, including the $5,000. Now, we recently did their mid-year appeal, and we didn't offer a match gift. And you know what? They only raised $3,500. Now, that can be contributed to a number of things, but I have to say the matching gift works. So let's see here. Here you go. Here are your details on your match gifts. So match gift is when a donor offers up a certain amount of donation, and they'll match every dollar given up to $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is you want to do. Normally it's a one-to-one match. This morning I actually got an email that was a $2 $1 match. So for every dollar given, the donor was going to give a $2 match, which is pretty amazing, which is more than doubling the donation there. I definitely would let your donors know what the cap is. Not that I think that will dissuade them from giving in any way, shape, or form. However, I do think that it lets folks know what your goal is and what kind of what you're shooting for. Something I've done, if you're like, gosh, Renee, I just don't have a donor that can make one donor that can make a $5,000 or $10,000 gift. Hey, no problem. What I've done before, and I actually did this with 2 clients a number of years ago, is we asked all the board members to make a gift as a group, and there was a range. Some of the board members gave $100, some of them gave a couple $1,000s, because it all depends. A stretch gift or a gift, it depends on person to person, right? And they pooled that money together, and they were able to offer it as a lump sum, so $5,000 or $10,000 as a match. And how cool was it to put in our letter, hey, our board has all given, because we know we need 100% board giving. There's ownership of the organization give first before they're willing to give. So our board has all given, and together we will match dollar for dollar what you've done. Ian, it looks like I've got a question from Steve. Or I can open it up. Steve, you said, Renee, what do you suggest for church members, as the happy hour at a restaurant would probably not attract many people? Steve, you're absolutely right. With churches, it's going to look a little different, and it's going to be probably something more like a family barbecue, maybe either at the church or hosted by maybe one of your leaders in your congregation. It could also look like a luncheon, a women's tea, those kind of things that are a little more familiar to the church culture. It could also be something that's paired up where it's an hour before your services or an hour before a Wednesday night Bible study kind of thing where you have folks gather. And again, it could be potluck style, or what I've noticed and experienced, a lot of times there is someone in the church that owns a restaurant or owns a catering company, right? And they love being able to cook for people. That's why they went in the business. And if you're in a church, you tend to just have a heart to serve. And so if your business is catering, you love to feed people, right? So asking them to come out and maybe host right after, Sunday services, maybe for the lunch that they host a barbecue, people can buy a ticket, for $20 and the food's donated, or maybe it's a little bit more, you packaged it up, maybe it's $30 for family or $40 for a family of 4, however it is. And then there's an opportunity for people to sit down and gather and eat together, because there's something about food that naturally gathers people together and really facilitates conversation. Does that answer your question, Steve? Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Steve. I love how this works. Yeah, as you have questions, please just throw them out. I love answering them. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I want to get to the next slide. Ian, I might need a little help on that. There we go. Okay. So who here knows who's on the screen? Can I see a raise of hands? Uh-oh, are we all asleep? No one knows who this is.
Doesn't look like any. Doesn't look like you.
No one knows who Patty Singer is? Oh, okay. Well, so for all of you who don't know, there's a very famous woman who has her own television show called The Millionaire Matchmaker. And Patty here is a modern day, and what I love about her is that she gets to know an individual who's looking for a long-term relationship, and they hire her to go out and find a match for her. And we often see this, even in our day-to-day life. If any of you have ever been single, I'm going to take a wild guess that maybe a few on the call on this webinar have been single at one point or another, is we often have friends that say, hey, Renee, gosh, I've got this great friend or neighbor or friend that just moved from town or college buddy or whoever it is, who's single, and gosh, I think you two would make a great match. Can I introduce you? So we've all been through this before where there's a setup, right? There's an opportunity when someone sees two people that think that they'll be a good match. So what I want to recommend to you today as tip number 6 is utilizing board members as your donor yentas. And let me show you how. I don't know why I can't get the slide to go over. It's just not showing up. There we go. Okay. So here's what I suggest in using your board members as donor yentas. What you want to do is develop a list of potential donors. So these can be folks that are already in your database that are maybe giving in your annual fund and you want to upgrade to a major donor. They can also be folks that are out in the community that have a heart for your cause or that are interested in your cause. We know our famous donors out there, like the Jacobs. We know that they give to the arts, or we know that Denny Sanford likes to give to health research, and then he's also investing in education as well. So we have an idea of where our donors like to give, but often we don't know that donor personally, but we have a cause that we know that they'll really like because we have done our research. We know that they give to similar causes and that we line up with that. So you got to make sure you do that. A lot of times I sit down with a donor with a client, they're like, you know what we need to do? We just need to write a letter to Oprah. Well, is Oprah interested in our cause? Has she ever mentioned that this is something within her purview or something that she's really been engaged in? Let's make sure that there's a match to begin with. So what you want to do is develop this list of donors that you'd like to get to know. Then you want to sit down with your board member to see which ones they know. You just kind of go through the list. Hey, have you ever met Renee Herrell or Ian Campbell or Andrea Muir, and who do you know? And let them identify. Gosh, yeah, I know so and so, or that's my neighbor, or oh my gosh, our kids used to go to school together, and they have been one of my dearest friends for the last 20 years. What we want to do is identify degrees of separation, but with your donors and not Kevin Bacon, right? So you want to see who your board members know, make up a short list, say they know a handful of people on that list of folks that you want to get to know. You want to identify a way for them to set up this potential donor with your organization. So it could be a tour of the organization. It could be taking this potential donor out to lunch with you as the fundraiser or the executive director or another board member to get to know. One, for the potential donor to get to know the organization, and two, for you representing the organization to get to know the potential donor. It's a lot like a first date. And although I wouldn't normally recommend that whoever sets you up on a date to come on the first date, because that's just kind of awkward sometimes, I would definitely recommend that if the board member holds the relationship with this potential donor, that they come on the first date with you, because that kind of helps, that helps close the circle. It helps bring the board members acting as the relationship bridge between you and the potential donor and bringing that together there. Okay. Okay, so tip number 5, raise the paddle. Hey, my wild guess is folks here on the webinar, you do raise the paddle. It's common, we see it at galas all the time. It's a great chance for people who are attending a nonprofit fundraising event to give an outright donation. But I see it done wrong so often. And so I want to give you kind of the key steps on how to do it right, because there's a couple principles and they're pretty simple, but you got to do them in order to have success, because I think we've all been there. We're at a fundraiser and the auctioneer, who's ever leading it, calls out a number. Who's going to give it the 5,000 amount? And there's dead silence. I mean, you can hear the crickets. You can hear someone drop a fork on the plate and you're cringing because it looks like there's not a lot of support in the audience for the organization, and that's just the opposite of what the feeling you want to create. So one of the absolute best raise the paddles I've heard is at the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and they do a promise ball, and let me tell you, folks over there at JDRF, they know what they're doing when it comes to raise the paddle and comes to their gala, for crying out loud. So in 2010, I'm attending, and this little gal, Emily, who's pictured here in her tutu and her princess crown, she gets up on stage, and the auctioneer asks her, hey, Emily, so tell me what you've got there in your hands. And she had a glass jar that was filled up with coins and some dollars and whatnot. And she said, well, I have type 1 and I was diagnosed at the age of 5, and one of the things I want to do is find a cure for my disease. How cool is that? So I held a garage sale last Saturday, and the master of ceremonies asked her, well, how much did you raise, Emily? She goes, I raised $62 towards finding a cure to the disease I have. The auctioneer turns to the audience and goes, who here will match Emily's $62 that she raised at her garage sale? I think every hand flew up at that point, and they raised thousands of dollars that evening. So the first step in Raise the Paddle is to tell a compelling story. And often you want to do this, it's midway through the live auction because people are already getting excited, they're raising their bids. Often people who came to spend money, maybe they didn't get the auction item they wanted in the first 5 or 6 items that you've gone through, so they've got money sitting on the table waiting to give. And there's a fun spirit. Live auctions are fun and exciting. And the energy is good in the room. And so that's a perfect time to have one of your program recipients come up and tell a compelling story. You've got to calm the audience a little bit, and it's got to be a really quick story that's straightforward, or video works as well too. So progress to the next slide. So here are your components for Raise the Paddle. As you know, it's an opportunity to give an outright donation. So you want your auctioneer master ceremonies to please tell the audience that they they get a tax-deductible receipt for this, occurs in the middle of the live auction. You want to determine the different giving levels based on your audience. Some audiences, you know, $2,500 or $1,000 might be your max, and that's okay. In some cases, like JDRF had another event, they started the Raise the Paddle at $250,000. Yeah, I almost fell out of my seat. I couldn't believe it. But you know what? They had a donor that wanted to give that amount. They also had a donor that gave at $100,000 level and a donor at $50,000, which leads me to the last bullet point there. You need to identify ringers who can raise the paddle at each level so there's no crickets. And this means that ahead of time, you go through your donor list and you identify major donors and you solicit them ahead of time for that gift. So there's work that needs to go into this. And so that every single level, you have an opportunity to give. Okay, Steve, I've got another question.
It looks like Steve has another question.
Renee, you keep talking about donors, but our goal is to attract investors that will help finance the solar project via loans, which are paid back with interest. How would you suggest attracting investors versus donors? Ian, is that something you want to comment towards? Because you know a little bit more about.
Absolutely, and you know, Steve, it's a lot of the way, and this is actually, this speaks specifically to community funding collective projects like we do in CollectiveSun. And realistically, when it comes down to it, all of the same principles that go into fundraising for donors go into attracting investors, right? It's the same concept of saying, hey, listen, we've got to be able to tell our story. We've got to be able to use that $1 million matchmaker to find the people who are interested in investing in our project. And granted, the reality of it is that donations and investments typically come out of different areas of the family budget. But when it comes down to it, you're dealing with the same kind of urge, the same kind of attraction points that they want to. That these are people that want to help you with your mission. That these are people that want to help you engage your audience. These are people that want to help you to serve more people. Because at the end of the day, if you can match that story with the cost savings that we're going to make from the solar project, from the operating costs that we're saving on solar, or on energy now rather, is going to enable us to serve X amount of more people. You're going to be able to attract those investors. And when it comes down to it, holding events and happy hours and things like that, it comes down to just telling the story and getting it in front of people. So, Renee, does that how
Yep.
does does that sound pretty,
Yep.
looks like we've got.
Yep. Steve, so Steve said, I would think people are much more willing to loan money that we paid back with interest than donating. Steve, we're talking about two different people and two different motives here. So if you're investing to get a return on it, it's a lot different than being philanthropic and altruistic, that you want to give money that you know is not coming back. Both are investments. One is that you get money back on. One is an investment in the charity, right? And allowing, because you're investing in their program so that they can carry those out and do them well. So I'm looking at the time and realizing we need to keep going on this. And so the next one is a simple one, get online. And I know we hear it all the time, that we need to be telling our story on all of our different social media that's out there. And but here's what I hear, and it just happened last week, sitting in a potential client's office, and they said, you know, we have this great video we made of all the summer camps we did and the kids talking, and gosh, is it something we should put on our website? And I just about fell off my chair. Yes, it's absolutely something you should put on your website and on your Facebook, and link it to your Twitter, and put it on your Instagram, anywhere you possibly can put it. Please, please do. And I think we often forget that when we're telling our story, that it's not only just, you know, what we were talking about here with Steve, it's on a one-on-one basis, it's at your gala when you do Raise the Paddle to do a heartstring story, it's in your direct mail letter, so you're constantly telling stories about your organization. capture that and put it online. As much as you can. And obviously online is somewhat visual, so having a photo or a video is a really great way to do it, along with different quotes. And if you're saying, Renee, we're so bad at our social media, you know what? Find a volunteer who is in the Generation Y, who's in their 20s, who, let me tell you, they love to manage this. They know how to do it. And it's a great way for them to plug in and help you. Okay. So, our tip number 3. Okay, so ask your donors to be co-conspirators. So recently I had a board member tell me, and I love this. He said, when you ask for money from a potential donor, you will get advice. When you ask for advice, you will get money or a donation. And I love that because I think it is so true. And I use this a lot in different scenarios. But asking your donors, say, hey, I have an idea, and I'd like you to help me think it through. Sometimes it's great to come in and present a program that you're doing and try to get their investment, but what's really great is to ask them for their feedback, to get them really engaged with your your project or your program, and it allows them to be involved. And we know as fundraisers, involvement leads to investment. So let's look at the basics here. Can I go back a couple slides? Thank you. Okay, so here are my quick tips on how to allow or invite your donors to be co-conspirators. Develop a 1 to 2 page case statement to send them ahead of time, because sometimes it's hard for people, and we're all the same, to come up with ideas right on the spot. So let them know ahead of time. Hey, this is an idea we're thinking. We're expanding a certain program, launching a new one, whatever it is. At the meeting, say, hey, what did you think about it? What's good, what's bad from your point of view? Would donors invest in this? What do you think? How do we need to present this so that donors will be really interested? And then ask them, would you support this? Both in your time, time, talent, and treasure, right? And so this really engages them in the process and asks them to be involved, and it's almost like doing pre-solicitation. So you can see where their interest level is. You can see if there's any hiccups in the program that really that might detract other donors like them. And then after the meeting, keep them in the loop. Hey, how's the program going? Hey, we made that, we implemented that change you offered, or we're able to edit it, and gosh, it's really made a huge difference with the people we've engaged with it. Okay, so tip number 2. There we go. Okay, speed dating. If you've ever been speed dating, the idea is to get, and again, if you've ever been single, there's a chance you might have been speed dating, although I'm not sure if it's so much in style anymore. But the idea is that you get to meet quite a few other single people who you might be interested in, might be a match for you in quick segments, right? It's a social setting. People are sitting down, getting to know you, quick couple questions, seeing if you guys connect, and then being able to move on to the next person to see if it's there. That's how I think of donor cocktail parties. And so with donor cocktail parties, it's an opportunity for you to do speed dating with some potential donors. So what you want to do is identify a host. It's normally one of your board members or one of your current donors who's already giving, and they have a beautiful home or access to a beautiful restaurant or space where they can host a party. I normally recommend about 10 to 15 couples, and they're inviting their friends of friends who maybe haven't heard of your organization. So again, it's a chance for you to get to know new potential donors. You want to have it catered. I tend to suggest it sometime, after work, normally on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. kind of thing. Chance for people when they first get there to mix, mingle, check out the beautiful home or surroundings that they're in. You want to do a short presentation. Again, this is a lot like the happy hour, but the difference is you're in a private home, and the people you invite, you're inviting because they have a larger capacity to give. These are potential major donors that you're looking at. You want to have a short presentation, and you definitely want to make a solicitation. It doesn't have to be a real direct hard sell. In fact, I recommend it's probably not. Let them know that there's an opportunity to, what your need is, and that there's an opportunity to give with it. What I normally, and let them know there's donation cards at the front desk when they leave. what I say about these is at a cocktail party like this, a third of people will give at the party. A third of people are going to give after the party because that's going to require the follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. You're going to have to set a meeting, give them a tour of your organization, get to know them more. And then a third won't give because you know what, this just isn't their cup of tea, but they came to support their friends, so that's okay. Okay, tip number 1. So we often forget to steward our donors, and this I see very common in when I go into clients' offices is stewardship program. They send out the tax deductible letter, and that is where it ends with them thanking and expressing gratitude to their donors. So I want to share about 2 of my favorite thank yous that I've received as a donor. So this one you see here is from my dear little friend Chai, who she asked me to make a donation to her school. And as you can see, she handwritten thank you note, which as fundraisers we know we're supposed to do our handwritten thank you notes. But I bet very few of you actually do a drawing of the donor. That's me in the middle. My hair's not curly, but that day it was. You know, it was a little humid, so it curled up. And you can see on my right and on my left is Chai and her sister Sage. And let me tell you, I have this thank you note saved because it is so special to me, and I don't think I've received anything this personal because I know it took Chai time to be able to draw this, to put I think it's a bumblebee on my head, which often happens. I'm standing there and a bumblebee's on my head, so I can see that. And to be able to write this out and what the donation went to. As you can see, it went to Spanish art, music technology, and dance enrichment. So my other favorite thank you is actually the one I get. So this is from a school, so this is a small fundraiser. But talk about large fundraising. Is the University of San Diego. I did my graduate degree there and I'm alumni. And I give every year because when I went to the school, my program, each student received 2/3 scholarship for every unit they took, which is amazing because if you know about private universities, they sure are not cheap. And if you work for a nonprofit, you sure don't make a ton of money. So I was grateful for all those scholarships that I received while I was there, and so of course I give back because I want to support the scholarships and students just like myself. But what USD does that is so brilliant, and everyone, if you can do this, it's so simple. Every time I make a donation, a current student, normally an undergrad, calls me just to thank me for my donation. They call, hey, this is Shelly, I'm a biology major, I'm class of 2017. I just wanted to call and thank you for making a donation. And that's it. She's not trying to solicit me. She's not trying to sell me. She's not trying to get me to do anything. She's simply calling me to thank me for my donation, no matter what the amount is. She called, or he, the student is calling to thank me. And you know what? It means that every time I see USD pop up on my caller ID, I answer the phone. Yeah, it could be a solicitation call. It could be a call asking me to do something because I sit on the alumni board, and it probably is a call asking me to do something. But I answer it because it could be a student calling to thank me for my donation. So, couple tips about doing stewardship and getting to your happily ever after. Do the thank you letters, the handwritten notes, and the phone calls when you receive a donation, and do it in a 72-hour period. Don't pass and then call people. Do it right away. Do recognition and gifts. If that's what your donor likes, get to know them. If they don't like to be publicly recognized, please, by all means, don't embarrass them. If they think gifts are a waste of time, then don't do it. But there are some donors that do like little tokens. When I used to work at the Center for Children, they had art therapy classes for the kids that were there. And you know what? We would frame the artwork because guess what? The artwork didn't cost anything. It was something super personal that one of our children created that was fun. The program, the art therapy program, was funded by the donor. So it made that wonderful, nice connect. And then I always say thank you before you say please. So as you're thinking about your holiday appeal, your year-end appeal, you're going to be asking for money. Maybe before then, around Thanksgiving, send out a thank you note. It could be a gratitude card. It could be Thanksgiving themed. It could be a postcard with photos of and numbers of everything you accomplished that year. It could be anything you want it to be. It could be a newsletter, but send that out and send it out in the way that you're going to send your holiday appeal direct mail. So if you're going to mail that snail mail, then send out your gratitude, thank you postcard, thank you letter, whatever it is, in the same manner because you want to say thank you before you say please again. And then I think I have a bonus tip for you, and then we'll take some questions. My bonus tip. So it is always easier to get back an old donor, not an old as in age, but a past donor, than to make a new one. And I had lunch with my friend Hannah Berger over at the New Children's Museum, and she gave me the perfect story to share with you. So when she came on as Director of Development of the New Children's Museum, they had finished their capital campaign, but they had lost some of their donors, and because there was a huge staff turnover after the capital campaign and just some things that had gone on. And so she walked into not maybe the best situation, but you know what? She took lemons and made lemonade, and I'm really impressed with her. She reached out to the last donors that they had lost, and she said, hey, can I meet with you? Can you tell me what's going on? How do you feel? She apologized for things that happened. Obviously, it wasn't things that she did, but sometimes donors need to hear from the organization apology when they've been hurt or wronged or something's gone awry, even if it's not the organization's fault. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry, right? And she worked to rebuild these donor relationships. She said the first year she was able to meet with 50% of the donors they had before, which is great, but that still means she's missing 50%. The next year she was able to meet with another 25% that she hadn't done. So she was working to get their past donors back and to be current donors again, because again, that time spent, because those donors have already invested in you, you've already in them. It's simply in re-engaging that relationship to make it meaningful. And with that, let's ask questions. Maybe what was your favorite tip, or one that you think you can apply right away, or one that you need some clarification on?
So again, there are two different ways to ask questions. You can raise your hand, and I can unmute you, and you can ask the question directly, or you can just put it into the question section of the dashboard here. So let us know if you have any questions.
You know, while we're waiting on the questions, Ian, something that I wanted to just let folks know. One, I'm sure you'll be receiving information from Ian, and if you haven't already done so from me, I'll be sending you an invitation to my blog. And the best part about my blog is it's free, and it offers all of these wonderful tips and how-to guides and templates, things that you need for your development office that you can implement right away without ever even having to talk to me or hire me as a consultant. And I know lots of folks use that as a free resource, and for the smaller shops that might need some help from me, but maybe can't afford it. Yeah. Steve, you asked me about, can you get a copy of the presentation? Yeah, I can put it into a PDF and send it out. What I'd actually recommend you do is subscribe to the blog, because each one of these slides I've actually written a whole blog about, or that blog is going to be posting in the next couple of months. So you'll even get the longer explanation on that. So sure, we can definitely do that. Well, Ian, is there anything else you want to add? I don't think I see any other questions. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do we have another one?
Nope.
That's it. All right. Well, listen, Renee, I want to say just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
As the last step, as a kind of the last slide here, here's Renee's information to her website and her blog. Yeah, I definitely really appreciate you being on board and coming and sharing all this information with us. Well, it looks like we got one last question here. Oh, just again, more wonderful presentation. Very well done. So
thank you,
again,
Laura.
thank
I appreciate the feedback.
Absolutely, and I agree. So much for joining us here, and thank you all for joining us and taking some time to sit with us and hear the presentation. Again, here's Renee's information here, and we've got as far as CollectiveSun is concerned. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, you're definitely welcome to reach out to us as well. You'll be getting some follow-up information from us, and again, we'll make sure that the slides get out to you, and that that as this presentation is finishes, its conversion as a recording and posted to YouTube. We'll get it up there and make sure that it's sent out as well. So once again, last time, thank you to Renee, thank you to all of you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.